What are the big 5 activities that you need to do on a daily or weekly basis that's going to help you succeed at being in charge of whatever you're accountable for? So we really want to focus on, when we're talking about the big 5, first of all, they have to be actionable, and they have to be measurable, and they have to be easy to understand. And so your team, your guys, your gals in the field, whoever, they need to understand what winning looks like and say, hey, if you do these things, then that's going to set you up for success.
Hey, I'm Todd Dawalt from the Construction Leading Edge podcast. Thanks for listening. If it's your first time listening to the podcast, we are all about helping you, the construction business owner, systematize your construction business to get you out of day-to-day firefighting with the right system. So we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary here. I started the podcast 10 years ago, back in March 2014, and here we are 300 plus episodes later. So thanks for listening. Here's what I've got for you today. It's an interview with a client and a good friend, Alex Gregg, owner of Gregg Homebuilding Company in Franklin, Tennessee, one of my favorite towns. Highly recommend you visit if you haven't been there. And here's what you're going to take away from this conversation. We talk about how Alex has set up the right metrics to track with his team and some of the ripple effects he's seen from that. We talk about the Big 5 concept and how that has helped him hold his team accountable and drive performance with his team. We talk about what his pre-construction process looks like now and how it's different than it was a few years ago. He breaks down some of the most impactful systems that he's implemented that have allowed him to surpass the $10 million annual revenue mark. We spend some time talking about the mindset that you need to have when it comes to implementing systems in your business. It's different from the builder mindset. And we talk about Alex's experience being in our high-level CEO Alliance program. So got a couple of resources I want to get in your hands before we get to that interview. Up first is our free masterclass that hundreds of construction business owners have watched. It's called Get Out of Your Construction Business, How to Make It Run Without You this year. And you'll learn about a few things, including the JETS trap that's probably keeping you stuck working in your business, and then how to solve it, how to get out of that trap. You'll learn about your first few crucial steps if you want to spend more time working on your business instead of being stuck working in it, if you want to work on the machine instead of being stuck in the machine. And you'll learn about how to nail the handoff and eliminate 80% of the preventable schedule delays and profit bleeds and make your phone stop ringing. That's one of the most common side effects when you nail the handoff properly. Your phone will stop ringing so much. If you want to watch that free masterclass, head over to constructionleadingedge.com/get out, GETOUT. That's constructionleadingedge.com/get out to watch our free masterclass, Get Out of Your Construction Business and How to Make It Run Without You this year. Here's the second thing. Is your business designed for success or is it designed for failure? So the reality is that some businesses are structured for success, some businesses are structured for failure. Okay, so we found a study and learned that there are 5 root causes of contractor failure, 5 root causes behind why successful construction business owners self-destruct. They go from successful to financial ruin. And this is information that we feel like every construction business owner needs to know about. So if you would like to evaluate your business and see and answer that question, is your business designed for success or is it designed for failure? Then the next step would be to apply for a free business evaluation call with my team. On that call, we'll go through those 5 root causes of failure with you. We'll evaluate your business. We'll identify the areas where you might be at risk. And then if it makes sense, we'll talk through the details of our Systematize Your Construction Business program. So to schedule your free business evaluation call, head over to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, APPLY. That's constructionleadingedge.com/apply, or just go to our website, constructionleadingedge.com, and tap the Apply Now button to schedule your business evaluation call. These calls aren't for everybody. They are for active construction business owners who actually want to evaluate their business. So check that out. Schedule your business evaluation call and go watch that free masterclass. All right. Now, without further ado, let's get to my conversation with my friend Alex Gregg. Enjoy. Alex Gregg, welcome back to the podcast. How's it going today?
Good. Great to be here. Thanks for having me again. It's great to be back and looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. So, yeah, you were on a while back. So we'll put the show notes, put a link to the episode number from your previous visit here in the show notes. But for those who don't know you and haven't listened to you, tell us a little bit about your business, where you're at, what kind of work you do, and we'll start with that.
Yeah, first of all, my name's Alex Gregg with Gregg Homebuilding Company. We're located in Franklin, Tennessee, and build custom homes, so new single-family homes, and have done spec homes in the past, but mainly focusing on custom homes now with clients from the ground up.
And you have kind of an interesting story, how you got into the home building business. Tell us about your story. How'd you get started? Give us the brief history of young Alex Gregg before he got into construction, and walk us up to where you're at today.
Yeah. So first of all, 2008 is when my wife Amy and I started our first company, and I got into the home building business on our own. But prior to that, I was I was a high school teacher and coach at a local private high school where I went and graduated from. And so I got to do that for 5 years, and then decided I wanted to get into home building. I always had a love for that. I was originally going to go into architecture into college, but had the chance to go play baseball. And so they didn't have architecture, so I found the next best thing. And then I worked for a local home builder when I was in high school, sweeping out houses, picking up bricks, doing all that sort of thing, clean up. And so I was drawn back to it. And in 2004, decided to get in the construction industry, went to work for a couple home builders, production builders, Pulte Homes, and then one of those more local to our region. And then got hooked up with a custom builder. And he showed me a lot, taught me a lot, learned a lot of the business side of that. And in 2008, that's when Amy and I got going.
Which I think we talked about this in the previous episode. That was kind of a unique time to start a home building business, right?
Yeah. Every time I mentioned that I started in 2008, everybody's like, wow, that's a great time, sarcastically, of course. And because that was, the recession. And actually looking back on it, it's probably a silver lining. It was a great time to get started. And maybe if I started a couple of years earlier than that, I might have gotten overconfident, gotten too many specs out there, and then wouldn't have the foundation in place to withstand, slow down. And so, I started out of, working at a desk in our master bedroom and the first home we lived in, and ran the business out of there and just slowly grew over the years.
So here's a question I don't think I've ever asked you. You played college baseball. What position did you play?
Yeah, in college, I was first baseman, third baseman, and designated hitter. So I was just an average player, but I had a great time, was on a good team. Had a lot of good times. I got to play sports, which is always a great thing to do.
Yeah. And then, so you're a high school teacher, and then you coached baseball while you taught as well, right?
That's right. Baseball and basketball.
I'm curious, are there any skills that transfer from being a high school teacher and coach to running a construction company?
I'd say absolutely. I've always kind of equated, you've got the kids, the students, you've got to learn how to motivate each one of those and understand how to, and they're all different, and you got to learn how to build that relationship. And so I've always equated subcontractors like, sometimes the students, and you have to learn what motivates each one and help them. And then you've got, working with administrators, it's kind of like the building inspectors. And then you've got the parents of the teachers you're teaching, and those are kind of like the homeowners. So definitely learn how to work with people. And it's all about relationships anyway, pretty much everything you do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So we've been working together for a few years now. What were you dealing with initially? Challenges, frustrations, opportunities, et cetera, that led you to reach out to us?
Yeah, that's a great question. So kind of maybe more of a global kind of answer to that would be, it just never felt like everyone was pulling in the same direction. You had all these ideas and how things how you wanted things to go, and it just never felt like you get everybody pulling the same direction. So that's kind of overall kind of the theme there. But some of the more tangible results, crash landings, when you're closing a home, just everything seems chaotic and everybody's stressed, and then while you're landing that crash landing, another one's building up. So, you're putting out fires all the time, and you're missing budgets. A lot of that's, the past several years has been because of the supply issues we've had, but still missing budgets and, stepping on each other's toes. I remember one of the things you said early on was, that people are either stepping on each other's toes or things are falling through the cracks. And we had a lot of great employees, great team members, and I feel like we always stepped on each other's toes more than falling through the cracks. And so sometimes that created issues, micromanagement, and not letting people do their job. And so those were some of the more tangible issues.
Stepping on each other's toes. Can you give an example of what that looks like for folks who aren't really clear on what that means?
Yeah, for me personally, I've been guilty in the past of, see an email come through and then, somebody didn't answer it or is not answering it the way you wanted to. And, you jump in and try to correct it and step on somebody's toes, or if you think this hadn't been ordered or that hadn't been ordered and somebody's supposed to do it, but you jump in and you do it. So you're stepping on it, and that causes frustration with whoever is supposed to be doing that. And sometimes it's not clear who's supposed to be doing that, but a lot of times that's when you're stepping on each other's toes, and it causes frustration with, me personally and the teammates. But I've learned a lot of time, since we've done work together, that sometimes you got to hit that delete button on that email you're about to send and say, just let your team member handle it like they're supposed to.
For folks who are listening to this thinking, oh man, that sounds like me. I just jump in there every once in a while and run a few plays and then step back off. Maybe for folks who are doing that, they don't realize what the ripple effects of that are. How does that affect? How did that affect your team when you stepped in and jumped in there and did those things?
I would have to say that it makes them feel like I don't trust them to do their job, that I don't think they're capable of doing their job. And then it gets them frustrated with me. And then it's just a terrible cycle, down, when you're doing that. And so you got to learn how to back up, and you have to maybe have a little more tolerance for mistakes, and you have to just learn how to let those happen. And that's only really the way that people are going to grow, is by doing it themselves. And if you're going to help them along the way and maybe give them some advice that helps them avoid some pitfalls, but sometimes they have to run into those setbacks themselves to learn it.
Yeah, I think what you said is very important. You have to have a tolerance for mistakes. You have to have some tolerance for mistakes. And I think that probably holds a lot of people back. They think mistakes are bad. We can't have mistakes. New employees mean mistakes. Therefore, new employees equal bad. New employees bad.
Because I was guilty for years and years. Yeah, I was guilty for years and years of just jumping in if I felt like something wasn't done right. It just was just counterproductive.
Yeah, I know personally. It took me a while to figure out the ripple effects of that, because I just thought, oh, here's a situation. I really need to step in here and deal with this, and then I'll just step out, and everything will be fine. And everything just goes back to normal. The machine goes running along, but it creates a lot of confusion with the team, because they think, okay, well, Todd stepped in here last time this happened. Does that mean like the next time it comes around, they're looking around for me? Is Todd going to step in here? Should I just
absolutely
leave it? I'm not sure. I'm definitely not motivated when Todd comes in and criticizes the way I did things. So I'm like, well, screw Todd. Let him do it if he doesn't like the way I do it.
Exactly.
And a lot of things just it causes confusion. People kind of lose motivation. I think probably what hit me was I realized like, I hate when somebody does this to me. I hate when somebody steps in and gets in my lane and then steps out. Man, that really frustrates me. That was a moment of self-awareness for me, that I realized I did that. So you mentioned micromanaging, and you've made great strides in leadership, and I want to talk about casting the vision and leading your team, because you've made some great strides there. There are probably a lot of micromanagers, maybe self-diagnosed, undiagnosed micromanagers listening. I'm curious, what did micromanaging look like for you looking back on it?
So, there's a feeling, I think, when you own your own business that you have to know everything that's going on, and that you have to be involved in every decision, and that you have to make sure it goes perfect, and that you have to be involved. And so what you find out as you get more and more projects and more work, that you become a bottleneck. And so if everything has to run through you, and you have to be on every decision involved, and your people feel like, well, I got to run that by Alex, to make sure he's going to be happy with it. And that just slows everything down. And so, and that's just one of the things that happens when you micromanage. And so you got to learn to trust your people, and you've got to learn to give them the right parameters on, hey, here's what we need to accomplish, and then let them go do it. And so, if you're always involved in that, you're preventing them from reaching the potential that they can reach. So, just micromanagement, while you've intuitively feel like you need to know exactly everything that's going on, by doing that, it limits you,
Yeah, I think the operative word there is bottleneck. If everything has to go through you, you are by definition the bottleneck. And I think a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people who think the problem's out there. Like, I can't get my people to take ownership, or my people or my subcontractors won't fill in the blank, and like all these problems that are out there. But the reality is, the problem is the guy or gal in the mirror who won't let go of control. And that's a tough realization.
That was a piece of advice I got early on from a baseball coach was, look in the mirror first. And, a lot of times the problem's with you, and that's really all you can control. So, that's where you need to focus.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, let's talk about some of the great work you've done in the past couple of years. You've put quite a few systems in place. You've upgraded your business tremendously, done a lot of great work. You're one of the best implementers I've ever worked with. So let's talk about what were some of the most impactful changes that you've made in your business. Like, what are some of the top 2 or 3 or so systems or processes that you've worked to implement that have had the most positive effects for you?
Yeah, well, first of all, the reason I've been able to implement this a lot is because of the help of you and your team, and just helping all these kind of ideas that have been there kind of over the years, but now pulling them all together and really understanding which ones are going to have the most impact on your business. So we've been able to implement a lot of different systems, from a vision to core values, using a tool that called the Revenue Maximizer that you preach a lot about, put together a client guidebook. But, to really think about the ones that have had the most impact, first of all, a pre-construction agreement. That's just first and foremost. You got to start there. You can't, got to get out of giving free estimates. You got to get paid for your work, and doing the pre-construction agreement allows you to do it properly and getting all the information you need to start a project. And so that's first and foremost. Second piece I would think would be the accountability chart that we have implemented. That was probably 2 years ago. And so one of the cool things about that is when you design that accountability chart, that means, who in your company is responsible for what, labeling all those, you design it for 2 years into the future. And so 2 years ago, we designed our accountability chart, and now kind of here we are 2 years later. And I think we've made some pretty good progress. We're have 7 employees now, have defined who's responsible for what, and that helps you create a culture of accountability, and then that's where you can really grow and improve. I would say now the handoff is definitely another one. That's when you hand off the project from pre-construction to construction, just having a great handoff and setting those guys up for success in the field is another huge one. But one of the probably one of the ones that we've worked on most recently is a concept that you guys came up with called the Big Five, and so the Big Five is really defining what winning looks like for your teammates and for your team members. And so, what are the Big Five activities that you need to do on a daily or weekly basis that's going to help you succeed at being in charge of whatever you're accountable for? And so we really want to focus on when we're talking about the Big Five. First of all, they have to be actionable, and they have to be measurable, and they have to be easy to understand. And so, your team, your guys, your gals in the field, whoever, they need to understand what winning looks like and say, hey, if you do these things, then that's going to set you up for success. And so like, for example, our superintendents, they need to be accountable for scheduling. They need to be in charge of quality control, client communication throughout the process, job site management, and then ultimately warranty. And so those are what they're accountable for. And so to do that, we have things that they need to do on a daily basis, like update your schedule, look to a daily job log post of what happened, take pictures of the job site of new activity, and then weekly they send out a weekly email to our clients, and then so just building habits that help you achieve whatever you're accountable for is just huge, and defining that winning for your teammates is very important.
Yeah. I want to talk about one of the metrics you started tracking, and I think it's one of your superintendent's Big Five. But talk about the daily or the weekly activity, or the days of activity per week metric. What you're tracking, why you're tracking, and then what have been the ripple effects of that? Because I think this is something that would help a lot of people.
Yeah. So I've always thought, you're going to keep customers happy if you can have somebody on the job every day, working and get things done on site, and that's going to keep your customers happy. And then obviously, if you move them in with, few loose ends as possible, then they're going to be happy that way. So the metric itself is to say, hey, how many days in the week did something happen on the job? So did a sub show up and do some work? Did material get delivered, or did inspection happen? And so if one of those three things happened, then you get a 1 for that day. If nothing happened, if nobody showed up, it even rained out, that would be a 0. And so when we first started implementing that, we had a 30-day contest with our supers, and if they entered that job log post 30 days straight, then they got a little bonus for a little reward after that. So what we did during that 30 days was establish a baseline. And so we tracked it, made that job log. And so we came up with a number of 3.75. So if we are above 3.75 days out of the week, then we're above that baseline. If we're below, we're falling short. So we track that. And so we've been tracking that for probably 1.5 to 2 years now. And so, we have a board in the room where our superintendents and construction manager meet on a weekly basis, and they can see those numbers, and we have a 13-week average. And so you can say, well, this job is running at a 4.2, it's doing great. This other job's running at a 2.6. Well, we need to pick up the pace here. And a lot of times, why those slowdowns have happened. Like a couple of weeks ago, we were snowed out and they got zeros across the board. So some things you can't control, but you want to focus on those things that you can to improve that metric. And so easy to understand, it's just data, and there's no arguing what it is. And so that helps hopefully motivate the guys. You asked how have we seen that come into play? I was talking to an investor that we're working with recently, and he was talking about, picking up the pace on scheduling. And I was like, well, we've been tracking this and we had a 13-week stretch of where 5 days a week things were happening on your job site. So I was able to say that, and he's like, "Wow, that is great. That's great that you're tracking that." So I think it's helped us a lot.
Yeah. And what have been some of the ripple effects that you've seen of increasing those activity levels? What has that done for billables, monthly revenues, schedule times, any sort of positive ripple effects that you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so there's definitely a correlation between that activity and then what you're able to bill your clients on a monthly basis. So the more activity you have, the more opportunities you have to bill for the work you've done and then bring in that revenue. And so we've seen times where, we've had a situation that stopped us for a couple of weeks and you can see that effect on the revenue that you're able to bill out because you haven't done the work. So they definitely go together.
That's good stuff. You've definitely taken the big five concept and embraced it, and it seems like your team has embraced it too. So speaking of the team, how has clarifying the big five helped your individual team members? Maybe it hasn't helped them at all, but how has it helped them, if at all?
Well, I think a great example will be after this meeting today. I'm taking our construction manager to lunch, and so we've printed off his big five and the areas that he's accountable for in the accountability chart. And so we're going to go to lunch and we're going to talk about those items on his list and say, hey, how are we doing at these things? And he's actually going to rate himself and say, hey, I'm 1 through 5. I'm a 3 or 4, and so we're going to focus on, hey, how can we help improve, get you better in this certain area? And so it's a great tool to help your teammates, our team members grow. And so Lee, our construction manager, he's going to use that with our superintendents, and they're going to do the same thing. And then I've done that with our pre-construction director, Suzanne, as well. Yeah. And so it's a good tool.
Excellent. Let's go back and talk about those 3 systems that had the most impact for you. The first is the pre-construction agreement. So getting paid for pre-construction and estimating. This one blows a lot of people's minds. Some of you may be listening thinking, how can I possibly get paid for estimates when I've always done them for free, when everybody around me does them for free, when customers expect them for free, et cetera. What advice, what would you say to somebody who asks those questions and they just can't believe that somebody would ever pay you for an estimate?
Yeah, well, first of all, I asked those same questions about 3 years ago before you and I started working together. And when that idea came about, I was like, well, that'd be great, but it's never going to work, So, but you help me get across that hump and decide to go for it, and I haven't looked back, since. And it's just, and I think the key is once you start believing in it and having a little bit of confidence, it becomes easy to explain. It really does. Just because when you're talking to clients now, it's like, hey, we're not building, we're going to be building this project, and there's a lot of factors that go into it, and to do it right and to make sure this process goes well, we've got to plan ahead and we've got to really dig in. And to do that, we're going to have to put in a lot of time, and so, 40, 50, 60, 70 hours, depends on the project. And so you just can't do that for free. And you need to be spending that time, that energy on people that are serious and that are wanting to build. And so devoting that time is easy when, they're ready to go and enter an agreement and they're serious about it. And then you can really devote that energy and time to doing it right for them. So it's a partnership. And then when you start out, when you start the project, you have a lot of the answers and that's when their energy is the highest at the beginning of the project. And so it just helps the whole process. And in the end, it might cost them a little bit of money on the front end, but that investment is going to make, change orders go down. It's going to make mistakes go down. It's going to make, their stress levels go down. And so it's just the best way to run a project from what we found.
Yeah. Will you ever go back and do free estimates again, you think?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Let's talk about the accountability chart. You mentioned that it's helped create a culture of accountability. What does that culture of accountability look like? What does that term mean to you?
Yeah, I think, that's one I've kind of struggled with. What does that really mean? But I can kind of sense that coming to fruition here. And so when everybody on your team understands, hey, I'm responsible for that. So when an issue comes up, and you say, well, is that sales? No, it's definitely not sales. Is that finance? No, it's definitely not finance. Is it pre-construction or construction? That's usually kind of the area where there's some gray area, but it's a lot of times say, well, that's definitely construction. So it's clearly in the lane of the construction team. And so there's no confusion on, well, they were supposed to do that. And so when everybody understands that, then you say, well, there's no confusion. That's me. And then when you understand that's me, then, if you're going to be part of the team, then you better take care of, what you need to take care of. And so, and it's not in a way that's to criticize people or to put them down or to say they're not doing their job. It just makes it clear. And then when everybody understands that, I think everybody's ready to go to work and when they know what they're supposed to do.
Let's compare and contrast. Let's say before you had your accountability chart designed and there was an issue that came up, something slipped through the cracks or there was an issue that came up. Now, compared to now that you have your accountability chart designed, how was it before? What did it feel like before when there was an issue, when something slipped through the cracks versus now?
Well, it would be like, well, I thought you were going to do that. No, I thought you were going to do that. And or you have people doing the same thing over and over. Like I think there's an example when we did our deep dive. I think we're talking about a landscaping quote or something like that. And there was 5 people on our team that touched it, and it was like we just spent, how many hours did we waste doing that? And so yeah, it just it makes you more efficient. You can actually do more when it's clearly defined who does what, and you can accomplish more as a team.
The nail the handoff. And I have to say, you took nail the handoff to a whole to the H&L, to the whole nother level, and did something. You actually had a baton created, which we have since adopted that, and we have those made for our clients where there's a physical baton that's handed off. But talk about what has nailing the handoff and focusing on pre-construction, what has that done for you in the business? What have been some of the ripple effects of that?
Yeah, definitely. It's had a huge impact, and I'll give an example that I was just talking to my team earlier today about. And we had something that came up on a job site, and it wasn't done exactly right. There was a little bit of miscommunication, and it wasn't anything major. But one of our team members was able to say, "Yeah, we'll take care of it." And I think our customer's like, "Hey, how can we work together to find this?" And it's like, "We got it." And I was telling my team that the reason that we're able to do that is because we have put together such a good pre-construction process. We know our numbers, we know our budget, we're hitting it. And so to take care of a little thing like that is worth an investment, especially when you know how the project is standing and the clients have been great. And so you just want to take care of them. And so that little investment is going to hopefully increase their satisfaction, just 10 times more than that little small investment. So, but the comfort of knowing that you've made all the decisions, you've got all the information, you know what you're doing, and just knowing those things allows you to do that. So, the concept of the baton, that's a great one. I think, you taught us that it's the guy handed off the baton that's responsible mainly for the handoff. And so how can we get all the planning done on the front end and then hand off a great package to our construction team where they don't have to be searching for answers, digging to get this or that. Well, and then a lot of times, if you don't have the money in the budget, you didn't plan well, they can't go do what they need to do because you didn't have money in the budget. And so it's a constant uphill battle. And yeah, it's just huge to try to get as much planning done before you get started. Things may change, and that's okay, but at least you've had a plan in place, and it's a lot easier to adjust.
I'm curious how life is different now that you're nailing the handoff, and we find that it has a profound impact in a lot of different ways. How is your day-to-day different now that you have your accountability chart and you have your nail the handoff process in place? How is it different from a few years ago before you had that in place?
Yeah, I would say, one, stress level is considerably down. It's almost been weird maybe lately that you don't have that sense of like, man, I got to be doing something all the time at 100 miles an hour. And there's got, what's next, what's next, what's next. And not that you don't have that sense of urgency anymore. It's just like, you're not just as, always stressed and wondering what problem you're going to have to deal with next. And then the second thing, I would just say the number of emails and calls, and that is all just dropped considerably. And I mean, like there's days that I don't get any calls from any kind of sub or homeowner or anything. It's because we've got people in place that are handling that. They're taking care of that, and the customers trust them. And I was talking to some local builders the other day at a lunch, and we were talking about just can you build a system that works? And then one of the comments was that it's just so personal, and it's just such a it's the builder himself, and that relationship is how that's going to be successful with the client. And I'm like, no, I think you can actually get a system and a team in place where where they're going to take care of them, and they're going to appreciate that even more because they know it's not just you taking, it's not just on your shoulders to make sure it gets right. It's you've got a system and a team in place that's going to, walk through the entire process, hopefully as smooth as possible. And always there's glitches, but there's things that come up in construction, but it's a lot easier to deal with those when things are in place and you got systems and you're working those.
So fewer phone calls. And I think that what you just said may blow some people's minds. Like there are days you get no phone calls from clients or subs. And some of you listening might think that's impossible because if you were to look at your recent calls, you may get 50, 60 phone calls. You may have received 10 messages while you're trying to listen to this podcast just in the last 20, 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
So the idea of having a day go by where you don't get a call from a sub or a team member, and you're able to, like, you do some traveling now, right? So when you go away on your fly fishing in Idaho, I assume you're not taking a lot of phone calls and responding to text messages the whole time while you're out there.
No, that's a benefit of having a great team, and just thankful for them, of course. But I am able to, like we've got a 2-week trip planned this summer. Our daughter's graduating high school, and so we're going to be able to go on a trip for 2 weeks. And I remember in the past always thinking, well, it's harder to go on vacation. You got to get prepared. Then when you come back, it's just there's so much stacked up waiting on you. But recently, I feel like a lot of times I don't have too many issues I have to deal with when I'm on vacation or when I get back here. Mm-hmm. And so it's just nice to have people that are taking care of those things for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the results you've seen from the work you've done. And we provide a lot of tools, but they're sort of like the tools that Milwaukee or Rigid creates, right? They're only as good as the people who use them. And you've done a great job using these tools, implementing them, taking them to the next level, making them your own. Let's talk about some results. What's different about your business? What are some measurable, quantifiable results you've seen to the degree that you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, I would say, well, first of all, I think last year was the first year we ever eclipsed the $10 million mark in revenue. And so that's been kind of a long-term goal for us. And so to finally reach that has been pretty cool. And then hopefully we're going to be able to maybe reach that same goal this upcoming year. But mainly the more kind of thing that I'm more proud of is that we've got some systems in place that happen or start to happen on every project, and or they are happening on every project. And you don't have to recreate the wheel every time. And so that, hopefully repeating happier customers over and over again. And that's the ultimate goal is to, our vision is to create a home building experience that exceeds the expectations of our clients and everyone who makes it happen. And so if you're having, if you have happy homeowners and your teammates are happy, and that's, I think from what I can tell, I could be wrong, but it just seems like our team members are enjoying their jobs and they're excited about it and they're wanting to improve and just seeing that's great, And so that's what I like to see. And obviously you want to try to hit financial goals, but ultimately having happy clients, having happy teammates, it's great when you hear that subcontractors, love working with our team. And, I hear constantly from other guys, hey man, you got some great guys out there. Yeah. And so seeing that is fun.
You mentioned company vision. You've done a great job of articulating your company vision and communicating that. And so a specific question about that is, how has having a clearly defined company vision helped you in hiring a few? You brought on some rock star team members in the last couple of years. How has having a clearly articulated vision for the business helped attract some of the top quality talent you brought on? What do you think?
Yeah. So first of all, let me say, especially to the listeners, like I was one of those guys like, vision, all that is too, I don't need any of that. Just do things right. Things will take care of themselves, And so I didn't believe that was necessary to have anything like that, but I think I was challenged at a live meetup that we were at that you need to have one. And so it's like, all right, I'll do it. And so I did it. And just the process of going through that and putting that all into words and on paper was good for me personally to be able to do that. You always have that kind of in your head of what you want it to look like, but you never really taken the time to put it on paper. So that was helpful. And then to answer your question, as far as hiring goes, that's really when I think I first saw like these systems in place is making a difference. So, going to interview people and showing these things about like the accountability chart, your vision, and hey, here's what we're trying to accomplish. And that just attracts people. People are like, man, that's so refreshing to see a company that has that in place. And so the key to me in that is that when you have that from day one, you've established that expectation, like this is what we're about. And so they come into it, not knowing any different, and they're bought into that vision. And so once you start getting people to buy into that vision, and it's not just you believing in that, you get another person and then another person, and they're saying those things, and once that kind of catches that momentum, then it's just so helpful. And then you start getting better people, not better people, but just maybe a better fit. A better fit for what you're trying to accomplish, and you get those people in place, and then all of a sudden, it just gets better and better, and then it's that flywheel concept of once you kind of get that momentum, it starts building on top of that previous momentum.
Yeah. So I'm curious. You brought on a few people onto your team. How has having documented processes, having having your accountability chart well defined, having things like the Big Five in place, what has that done for your new hires who come on board? How has that helped them in their first 90 days or 6 months?
Yeah, we just actually hired a young lady in January, and she started, and we had a lot of those places. And one, having that accountability chart, if we rewind a few months back, we're able really to, hey, this is what we want to, these are the tasks and the responsibilities that we want to hire, and we want to bring somebody in to handle. And so knowing that before you even start the hiring process was critical. It was crucial, knowing what you want to, so we were focused on what, things or tasks can we take away off like my plate, and then off of Suzanne's plate and off of Brad's plate, and then that'll allow them to elevate and do better at what they're really good at, and then bringing somebody in and you can lay out, hey, here's what we need this person to handle, and they come in, they're like, yeah, I love that. Some people don't like organizing and keeping track and documentation, but some people do. And so if you hire somebody that that knows what you expect of them, and that's what that looks great. So from day one, you get somebody with that mindset, onboarding becomes super easy. And we were able to onboard actually like very quickly, and she's up and running. And I'm having trouble keeping up with her, and so keeping her, staying ahead of her, because she's just taking care of a lot of stuff that I've wanted to take care of over the past, years. And I've just kind of kicked it down the road, and because I haven't had the bandwidth to do everything. And now we have somebody in place that is handling all those things. So again, just build on that, and you're going to hopefully get better and better.
So I think what a lot of people do when they want to hire somebody is they guess at what they need, right? I think I need an admin assistant, or I think I need a bookkeeper. I think I need a social media person, or I think I need a superintendent. And they guess at what they need. Like, I think this is what I need. They go grab a job description from Indeed.com, or they copy and paste it. They push it out there. They bring somebody in, and then they're disappointed with the results, because what they find is like, oh, I thought I needed this, but I really need this. Turns out I hired a superintendent, but I really need a project manager. Or I hired a social media person, but I really need a bookkeeper. And then we try to shove that square peg into the round hole, and I'm like, just can't find good people, right? And that process doesn't work. But what you did was you went to your accountability chart, pulled off the tasks and the roles that needed to be filled, and load shed some of those things off your team, off yourself, off your team, to free them up to get the most leverage. Pulled those tasks together. I remember looking at this thinking, like, all right, is this person heavier on the bookkeeping side, or are they heavier on sales support? And it became really clear what you needed. And then you put together a job description, went through a great interviewing, recruiting process, and then had a good onboarding process, and she's a rock star. And now you're not trying to give her stuff to do. She's rocking and rolling 2 or 3 months in, and you're trying to keep up with her. So that's the process that works. So start.
And then to add on that, the other people on our team are now getting better because she's now supporting them. So
yeah,
the rising tide, all boats, right?
Right
so,
on.
We can see that effect.
Yeah, very cool. So let's talk about implementation. All right, implementation is tough. Changing is tough. Humans don't like change. Putting new systems and processes, changing habits are tough. So what were a couple of the biggest challenges you grappled with as you worked to implement those changes in your business?
Yeah, so first and foremost, to me, like, patience is, you got to just lean in on patience. And, a lot of times as the, the owner of the company, the, leader of the team, the visionary, you have these ideas and you know how you want it to go, but it's going to take longer usually than you want it to. And so you have to learn how to be patient and stay with it. And the key is creating buy-in, I think, to the sooner you can get your team to buy in whatever you're trying to implement, and the sooner that they're involved in coming up with those ideas and get them behind that, then implementation becomes a lot easier. And so learning how to create buy-in is something that I've really tried to figure out more, understand more, learn more, read books about it, and how do you get your team to buy into that. So if you can do that, then implementation becomes a lot easier. And then another skill, I think, it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're just talking about, is learn how to delegate. And that's not a skill that I was I wasn't very good at that years ago, and hopefully I got a little bit better. And but learning how to delegate, and that's a key skill to get implementation done, because you can't do it all yourself, and you got to have a team behind you. And if they can buy into that and they can implement it themselves, then things are going to run smoothly. Because we all know that which is going to work better if somebody comes up with an idea and then they go implement it, or if I say, hey, this is how we're going to do it, you got to do it this way, they're less likely to want to buy into that if I'm telling them exactly how it needs to be done. But if they have some input, some ideas, and they feel like their voice has been heard, then they're gonna want to implement it themselves.
I wish I had learned that 15 or 20 years earlier.
No.
Because I was the poster boy for, I'm going to go come up with a plan, I'm going to detail it all out, and then I'm going to attempt to jam it down your throat, tell you what to do, how to do it, prescribe the whole thing, and then be frustrated at the results. Like, these people, they don't get it. They're not motivated. What's wrong with them? So yeah, I wish I had learned that a lot earlier in my career. It would have been a lot more effective. Let's talk about you and I had this conversation a few weeks ago about the mindset. There's a different mindset that you have to embrace in order to implement. People who implement things,
Sure.
They have a different mindset. And I think one of the problems is the mindset for upgrading systems is different from the mindset of building a project. Because when you build a house, you build a commercial building, you build anything, you're going to build it once, and it has to be right because there's a lot of risk. However, when you're creating processes, you have to get it going. You just have to get something going, and you have to iterate on it. And then you have to, instead of trying to get it right. What's been your experience with that? What do you think about that? Let's talk about that difference in mindset between building a project and putting systems in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're a good builder, you're a good contractor, you want things to be perfect. And I think that's ingrained in all of us, to produce a product that is close to perfection as possible. But yeah, to your point, to get something going, I love the word iterations. Just get something in place, and done is better than perfect. That's something I've struggled with over the years to buy into, but now I'm a believer in it. And let's get something in place, and then you put it through, real situation, and you're going to see, we need to adjust that. And so now you iterate, you go back and you fix that part of the process. And then you do it again and again, and you say, we need to improve this process. So just iterations, but you're never going to be able to improve until you have that system in place. And so until then, you just say, I think we did this last time, but you get something in place, you follow it, you see where it goes wrong, and say, okay, well, we need to improve that. And that mindset, I think, is seeing mistakes as opportunities to learn, seeing mistakes as ways to improve your process. I'm glad we found that one. So now we can go back and fix the process, so we'll never have to deal with it again. And that's another question. How can this be the last time, we ever answer this? How is this the last time that we'll deal with this problem? So if you have that mindset and you see something pop up, well, all right, great. Now we can eliminate that problem. And so it's just constantly, dialing into specific parts of your process and how can you improve those. And that whole 80-20 principle that you preach to us and talk to us about is all right, which one of those areas of the process, if you focus your energy on and improve, is going to help you the most. And that's where you need to start and learn how to prioritize which ones are going to have the most impact.
Yeah, it's a very different approach, very different lens that you look at problems with when there's no system. When a problem comes up, it's a repetitive problem. It's sort of just frustration, here we go again. And the thought process is more why am I dealing with this? Why can't we fix this? All this negative stuff, very negative lens you look at problems through. Maybe it's finger pointing, blaming, questioning motives, questioning the will to live, all sorts of negativity. But what I'm hearing you say is once you have systems in place and you have that systems mindset, when there's a problem, the approach is, okay, all right, we found a problem. How do we fix it? Okay, good. We found a bug in the system. Now we can fix it for the last time. Or, okay, now when something happens, is this a people problem or is it a process problem? Makes it really clear, easy to delineate where's the issue. Whereas before it's just this hopeless mess of negativity. Yeah.
And most of the time it's a process problem and it's not a people problem, from what I found out. So okay, well, let's just define that a little bit better, explain what winning looks like a little bit better. And then we can, hopefully get that done. So, I mean, that's the sign of a good business is where, you don't have to bring in the top notch talent, to succeed. You're able to have a system where you can bring in, better than average people, and you can accomplish that every time if you have the right systems in place. Obviously, it's great to get rock stars on board too, then they take it to another level. And so it's just that cycle, the better you get at systems, the better people you get, the better systems. And so it can just build on each other.
So let's shift gears and let's talk about the CEO Alliance a little bit. You're one of the founding members, one of the OGs in the alpha group of the CEO Alliance. How would you describe that CEO Alliance group in your own words? And then what has being in that group done for you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I've thought about that recently. I look forward to Wednesdays, and those are the days that we have our meetings, and it's middle of the week, and it's what we call CEO Day, and so I look forward to those days and those meetings because the guys you're getting together with and the gals you're getting together with are people that care about this stuff as much as you do, and they want to be good and they want to be better, and they want to improve and they want to do things right. And so just hearing from people with that same mentality and that same just passion, for what we do. Is great, and it's helped, another way that's helped me over the years. I think it's helped me develop leadership skills and see what other guys are doing, other gals are doing to do a better job at leading their team members. And so, that's a great idea. And so you always learn something, in every meeting from somebody else on how they do it. That's a great idea. I never thought about that. And it's like a board of advisors, a board of trustees, so I've got, certain situations, that come up, and how am I going to deal with this? And I run it by those guys and hear their opinions and see, maybe they've dealt with that same issue, or maybe they've got a great perspective, and it just helps you kind of think through those and keeps me accountable, to be honest. We kind of challenge each other to implement new things, and just my nature, I think, is I don't want to be, looked at as like, well, you didn't put in the work. And so I want to make sure I've done everything I can to hold up, my end. And so it holds me accountable. And, so it's just a great area to vocalize, kind of test out new ideas and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? And well, what about this? Oh, that's great. And then now you can go present to your team. And you've kind of thought through it and got some good feedback on that.
So what would you say that having access to that group, what does that do for you?
It's almost like therapy, like just being able to get in there and talk about those things. Because, there aren't, too many people probably if you're a business owner, you can't go talk about a lot of the things you talk about as a business owner to other people. One, it's just a different kind of situation, when you're in charge and you're running a business, and the two, you can be open and honest with these guys and gals on, the most intimate detail, personal financial stuff. And so being able to share that and having that group is just a great thing to have. So
we have a live meetup coming up next week in San Diego. What's the best part for you about getting together with the group in person? It's one thing to have Zoom calls regularly, but our group's scattered out all over the country. What's the best part for you about getting together in person?
Well, again, it's great to be able to shake hands with pat guys on the back that you talk to every week on a Zoom call, but you just really meet, a lot of times you meet new people and just, building those relationships. And it's great to meet people across the country and hopefully, I can maybe offer some advice that'll help them. And a lot of times, every time I get some advice from others that help me. And so just being around good people, again, is great. And then, we always learn something, you guys getting some great content, and it's not just, it's just next level stuff, a little bit deeper, on how to be a CEO, how to run a business, how to just take it to the next level. And so yeah, I just look forward to it. The times that we've been able to do it, I think this may be, I don't know, seventh or so, something, sixth, seventh, eighth, one of these that I'll have gone to, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's good stuff.
One of the things that I kind of poo-pooed on when I was young in my career was the value of relationships. And I learned 10 or 12 years ago how dumb I was devaluing relationships. What would you say to somebody who's out there like, relationships, they don't matter. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money, that kind of stuff. What would you say to somebody who has that mentality about relationships?
Well, I would say that, just success in general is going to be, it's those connections you make, and those opportunities are going to come along. And I was, a lot of times in the past, hey, I just want to get to work. I want to do my stuff. I don't want to talk to anybody, and just get in my tunnel. But really that's not what it's all about. And I think, the more relationships you can build, the more people you can help, the more value you can add to those relationships. It's just going to pay itself back, and you're not doing it out of trying to get something back. But it will have returns, I think, if you invest in the relationships, and especially those important ones in your life. And tell them how important they are, and just point out the good things that they're doing, and not focus on the bad things. And there's a local builder in a group that we meet once a month. And one of the builders just passed away a couple weeks ago, and he was a young guy, 54 years old. And it's just, you just never know. And so just focus on those relationships. And those are the important part, and how can you help somebody? And you never know when it's going to happen. So take advantage of it every day.
Yeah, very true. So you've accomplished a great deal in the past few years. I'm curious, what are a couple of goals that you're focused on right now in your business?
Yeah, so I've probably got, I'd say 3 things we're kind of focused on right now. One, SOPs, standard operating procedures. We've got a lot of good systems in place now. We're trying to capture all those in one place. And then again, focus on those areas that need the most attention, and where can we improve. And so really getting that documentation in place on how we do everything. And so the whole team can access it. You don't have to recreate it over and over every time you do it. And so, and then the second thing, we're working on a CEO dashboard that we're calling it. And it's just a tool that gives me the information I need on a weekly basis. Here's, financially, sales, construction, pre-construction, warranty, where all those things, and kind of give a snapshot so I can hopefully lead the team better and have that information in one place. And then we've really tried to focus our energy on milestones. A construction project typically has a schedule that's months and months and months, a year to even 18 months sometimes. And so to try to hit a schedule, you got to break it down into smaller chunks. So we're really focused on how do we get to the next milestone, and what's it going to take to get there, and what do we need to make sure we know or order or have in place in order to hit those milestones. And just a lot of energy on that.
Gotcha. Good stuff. So a couple of rapid fire questions for you, and we'll wrap it up. What's the best book you've read recently that you recommend people check out?
Yeah, so I'm reading the E-Myth right now, and man, I can't believe I waited that long to read it, and that's a great one. I think one thing I took away from that is we don't build houses. We are building a system that builds houses, and so that's something I've kind of taken away from that book. And then 10x is easier than 2x. Just wrap that one up. Who, not how. And those are all great.
Yep. Good stuff. What's a good movie everybody should watch?
A good movie that everybody should watch. Man, I like I love Band of Brothers. It's not really a movie, but it's a series on HBO, and Band of Brothers is probably one of my all-time favorites.
Cannot go wrong. It's probably about time for me to rewatch that. Yeah. My little known fact, my wife went into labor after watching, actually that was Saving Private Ryan. It's either Saving Private Ryan or an episode of Band of Brothers. She went into labor right after that with our first child. So World War II movies have a special place for us. Maybe for me more than her. Yeah. All right. If somebody's in Franklin, Tennessee, where's the restaurant or bar that they need to visit while they're in town?
So one of my favorites is the Red Pony. It's on Main Street in downtown Franklin, and that's a fantastic one. And that's a little bit pricier, so maybe it's like an anniversary night. Take your wife there, but another one would be Mojo's Tacos. Would be another probably kind of cool place. It's at a place called the Factory in Franklin, and that's a good spot to go.
Well, we love Franklin. That's, if we ever move, that's probably where we're going to land. And Lori has said, we're going to have to get Alex to build us a house. I'm like, well, the problem is he's going to charge a premium because of all this stuff I've been teaching him. So it may come back to bite me someday. We'll see. So people want, what's that?
We'll see what we can work out.
All right. I appreciate that. If people want to connect with you, follow you, apply for a job, where should they go?
Yeah, if you go to our website, gregghomebuilding.com, Gregg, there's 2 G's on the end of that, homebuilding.com is the best place. You can email us at info@gregghomebuilding.com. Also, go to Instagram and at Gregg Homebuilding, and you'll be able to see some of our work there. And DM us from there, or reach out to us via our website.
Any last, you got an audience of a few thousand, the most resourceful, attractive, intelligent construction business owners and leaders on the planet. And that is me being pandering, by the way. Any last bits of advice or anything else you want to say to them before we wrap up?
Just learn to listen, be a good listener, and hear what people have to say and understand what they want to, what they're trying to tell you. And a lot of time you'll learn a lot more by listening than talking. So that'd be my advice. Solid advice.
Well, good stuff as always. Thanks for being on here. Thanks for taking the time to share, go into details about what you've worked on. Congratulations on the great results you and your team have seen. And I look forward to seeing you in San Diego next week.
All right, well, thanks, Todd. Appreciate you having me here.
Hey guys, Todd here. Thanks for listening. 2 things before you get out of here. A couple of resources I want to get in your hands. First is that free masterclass, Get Out of Your Construction Business, How to Make It Run Without You. Learn about the JETS trap that's keeping you stuck working in your business. Learn the first few crucial steps if you want to spend more time working on your business instead of working in it, and learn how to nail the handoff to make your phone stop ringing. You can get that free masterclass by going to constructionleadingedge.com/get out, GETOUT. The second thing is your business designed for success or is it designed for failure? We did a study and found that there are 5 root causes of contractor failure, 5 reasons that successful construction businesses self-destruct after studying hundreds of successful companies. This is information we feel like every construction business owner needs to look at. So if you would like to evaluate your business and learn, is your business designed for success or designed for failure, then the next step is to apply for a free business evaluation call with my team. We'll get on a call. We'll go through those 5 root causes of failure, share those with you. We'll evaluate your business, see where there might be some early leading indicators or some early signs that you want to jump on. And then if it makes sense, we'll talk through the details of our Systematize Your Construction Business program. So to schedule your free business evaluation call, head over to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, APPLY, or go to our website, constructionleadingedge.com, and tap the Apply Now button. Those links are probably going to be in the show notes. or if you're watching on YouTube, they'll be in the notes below this video. And as always, thanks for listening. If you get value out of this podcast, if you could share this with somebody, if you could leave a rating and or a review on the podcast player of your choice, that would mean a lot to me and help spread the word out there. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.